You're listening to Melissa and Lori Love Literacy. Today we'll be answering questions from our book, The Literacy 50. We'll share research-based answers to your most pressing questions about teaching reading, and we'll give practical suggestions for what you can do in your classroom tomorrow.
Which questions will we answer today? 2 questions about phonemic awareness. What are best practices for teaching phonemic awareness? And should you teach phonemic awareness with or without naming and showing letters? Hi, teacher friends. I'm Lori.
And I'm Melissa.
We are 2 educators who want the best for all kids, and we know you do too.
We worked together in Baltimore when the district adopted a new literacy curriculum.
We realized there was so much more to learn about how to teach reading and writing.
Lori and I can't wait to keep learning with you today.
Hi, everyone. Today is a very special episode. We'll be answering questions about phonemic awareness from our new book, The Literacy 50.
But before we jump in, you might want to know how this book is structured. Basically, we answer 50 questions about teaching reading in 5 chapters with 10 questions each. And each chapter aligns with a pillar of reading: phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension.
Yep, we answer each question with a research-based response. Then we share what you can do aligned to research in your classroom tomorrow. We even provide printable resources and strategies. These are my very favorite things. And of course, we share a podcast episode you can listen to that connects with each question so you can continue to learn more. All right, let's jump into the first question.
All right, our first question is, what are best practices for teaching phonemic awareness? So I'll give you some of our research-based answer. But before we even get to that, I'll just say phonemic awareness is very important, and it's one of the best predictors of how well children will learn to read. So very key skill, and we're very excited to tell you all about it. But one of the things that we learned was that students actually benefit from focusing on only 1 or 2 phonemic awareness skills at a time, which might feel a little different than what some people are doing with phonemic awareness, which is doing maybe 5 or 6 different ones within a 5-minute, 10-minute little routine, but really wanting to focusing in on just 1 or 2 at a time. More can actually be overwhelming for students, and most importantly, it's less effective. Research has shown, which is really interesting. So that's one key thing, is to minimize the number of phonemic awareness skills at a time. The other thing is how much time is spent on phonemic awareness. And it's really short. It's brief. We want to keep it brief, especially when we're talking about oral only phonemic awareness activities. That's just doing it out loud, saying words, having students identify the sounds, or blending sounds together, but just by listening and saying those words after they've blended the sounds. All of that oral only phonemic awareness, you want to have it about 5 to 10 minutes per day, only for maybe 12 to 20 weeks in pre-K and kindergarten. And that's it. And that comes from Louisa Moats and Carol Tolman from the Letters Training. So some really key figures there giving us that information.
I bet a lot of teachers listening are like, oh, I remember that from Letters now.
Yeah, absolutely. And then lastly, you just want to make sure that, as with everything, we're very explicit about teaching phonemic awareness, clear expectations, teacher modeling, opportunities for students to practice those skills. And I'll go back to which ones you want to focus on. We really want to focus in on blending, segmenting, and isolating sounds. And that comes from our Matt Burns podcast, as well as some other research that's out there. Well, he got it from research, obviously, and then shared it on our podcast episode. So those are the ones you want to really, really focus on with students when you're narrowing down with that short amount of time and only focusing on a few skills.
I think he called it the Holy Trinity. And ever since then, I picture them in a triangle, just in a trinity, All right. So what can we do? We can use L. Conan boxes to be really effective in this phonemic awareness instruction.
I think Savannah just called them sound boxes on an episode we had too.
Sound boxes.
Same thing.
So easy. Yeah. So listening for sounds can be difficult for students. And so as students are listening for individual sounds, they can use different pieces, like even a chip, math chip token to pull into the Elkonin box or the sound box, or even the letter, right? The letter that they are saying. So they can represent with either tokens or letters. And Elkonin boxes are so easy to use and so easy to create. You can make them yourself with some blank boxes. Or just simply Google Elkonin boxes. Tons pop up. I've done it before. Students can even draw spaces on a whiteboard. That's helpful too. What I love is seeing how teachers use these creatively in instruction. So taping them on a small group table or using them on an interactive whiteboard. Super fun. Okay, so here are some steps for using Elkonin boxes. As the teacher, tell students they will push one token into a box for each sound they hear in a word. Then, as the teacher, pronounce the word slowly to emphasize each phoneme. You want to stretch it out. Then have students repeat the word. Ask students, what is the first sound you hear? Students move the token into the first box to represent the sound, and then you continue with all of the other sounds. Remember, you want students to hear the sounds, not the letters. So if the word is ship, sh is one sound. So it gets one token in one space, even though it's two letters technically.
Absolutely. So speaking of letters, let's move on to our next question, which is, should I teach phonemic awareness with or without naming and showing letters? And this is a question we get a lot, and it is a little confusing, I would say, because the reason I think it's confusing is because when you introduce letter sound correspondences with, just the sounds, now you're really teaching phonics, right? So it can seem like I'm not doing phonemic awareness anymore if I add letters in. Right? That's what it could feel like to you, but it's not true. You can do both of those things at the same time. And actually, let me get the right wording for it. But Nell Duke and Julia Lindsay actually called this instructional simultaneity in literacy, where you're doing two different skills at the very same time. So once you connect those sounds to the letters, you are teaching phonics, but you're still teaching that phonemic awareness if they're paying attention to the sounds that each of those letters make. And it's really important to make that connection quickly, right? Because not only does it help students understand phonemic awareness and phonics better, that's what's going to get kids to read. And that's the whole point, right? If you're doing phonemic awareness too much in isolation, they might get better at those isolated skills in phonemic awareness, but it's not going to get them to where we want them to go. The ultimate goal is reading. So we want to put those letters in as soon as we can. I have a quote here from Louisa Motes and Carol Tolman again, who say, use letters to represent sounds as soon as young students are ready. Letters reinforce and support phonemic awareness once students have learned to attend to sounds. So once they can hear the different sounds, like my 5-year-old right now, he can hear the different sounds, he's ready, right? We can add the letters in, he's ready for it. So it doesn't take very long before students are ready to make that connection.
Yeah. So I'll jump in with what we can do. Remember the Elkonin boxes that we just talked about? They can be used with letters. We discussed that. But like Melissa said, like when students are ready for them. So your first choice might be to use a token for oral only practice. Then you can have students represent the sounds with letters by writing them or moving letters into a box, right, for each sound. And we want students to listen for the sounds, not just kind of put the letters in the box. So we want them to say it. That's really important. And also we want to make sure that we are grouping. I know I said this before, but we are grouping the letters together that make one sound. So even if you are, spelling the word catch, then TCH goes in one box for the ch sound. Melissa, am I missing anything?
I would just say some people might be thinking like this, when are students ready? And I think we've kind of said it, but I just want to stamp it, which is probably sometime in kindergarten. Some kids might come into kindergarten already ready to add these letters to the sounds. For some, it might be more like middle of kindergarten, but that's probably about the time you're looking to do it, is like the middle of kindergarten. You don't want to really wait much longer, for sure.
We answer so many more questions about teaching reading in our new book, The Literacy 50. So we answer these questions and so many more. It's on sale now on Amazon or wherever you buy your books locally. You can totally shop local. They will order a copy. We have it in our local bookstores. We can't wait to hear what you think about the book. So please write in, let us know. And thank you for listening.
To stay connected with us, sign up for our email list at literacypodcast.com. Join our Facebook group and follow us on Instagram and Twitter.
If this episode resonated with you, take a moment to share with a teacher friend or leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts.
Just a quick reminder that the views and opinions expressed by the hosts and guests of the Melissa and Lori Love Literacy podcast are not necessarily the opinions of Great Minds PBC or its employees.
We appreciate you so much, and we're so glad you're here to learn with us.